I watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for the first time in a long time. You ever watch that?
I've never watched it. The only time I've experienced it is in Spider-Man 1.
Is that man? It's been a long time since I've seen Spider-Man 1.
There's a whole like fight scene where they're like he's like jumping on like all the big parade balloons and Green Goblin's flying around and.
You know, does he pop them with like his bike? Does he like pop through one of them?
I think so. I believe there's one that pops and deflates on the crowd or whatever. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, we were watching it, and the lady, whoever the host of whatever morning show, Good Morning America, was walking, and she's just kind of walking by the crowd and like kind of like waving, you know, kind of like, I think she kind of dapped up some people too. Like she was just kind of, you know, like shaking their hand, doing that kind of stuff. And then she gets to like her mark to like, you know, talking to the mic to the people at the studio, and Bob Odenkirk is sitting behind her.
Oh, just in the crowd?
Yeah. I was like, oh, is Bob going to say something? No, he was just there. He was just hanging out watching the Thanksgiving Day Parade, as he just happened to stop right where he was sitting.
That's funny.
Very strange. It's funny. I was like, what the? I felt like Leo, that the meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where I was like,
yeah. Yeah, I used to think it was called, I used to think it was some variation of like the Macy Gray Thanksgiving Parade. And I just realized like I'm sure I made this realization before, but that's also because of Spider-Man. Because in that scene at the parade, she is performing like at like a live concert or something in it. So because of that, I was like, oh, they like started doing this parade thing in New York because of Spider-Man. And they called it the Macy Gray Thanksgiving Parade.
Oh, holy shit, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some musical performances. It's always tough to watch because you're just like, they're all lip syncing. There's no way that they're able to like sing on like a windy, chilly, like cold ass day that. But yeah, this is the first. We had to use Chloe's sister's Peacock account to watch like the official feed, because I think last year we were like, oh, we should kind of make that a thing, you know, before we go to our respective families for Thanksgiving, let's watch the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And I was like scouring all of the apps last year to try to find like the official feed, trying to find it, couldn't find it. And then like I checked out the live section on YouTube, and I was like, oh, maybe this is it. And it's some dude on the sidewalk, like walking around. So it's just like, you can't even really see any of the floats or the balloons or any of that any of that stuff. There were a couple balloons that were like partially deflated, like Luffy from One Piece.
Oh, okay.
Luffy, his hat his hat caught some branches, so his like hat was like sort of like deflated over his face. There was a really good quote from Al Roker about Goku. What did he say? Oh man, I feel like I liked a tweet about it, but it was very funny coming from like Al Roker. I'm gonna just Al Roker Goku. Goku is a hugely popular guy, Al Roker. I love Goku, but I can't wait to see what his son Gohan does in this new movie. Is that an actual? I can't tell if that's an actual quote.
No fucking way.
I just like how they do that thing, like we were talking about with Muppet Christmas Carol, like talking about Kermit as if he's like a sentient being. Al Roker's like, you can see Goku in his new movie. Goku, a real person.
Wait, that can't be from this year. There's no way. I was like, they didn't make another Broly movie, did they? I just say Broly. Maybe it's Broly. I don't know. Should I listen to Al Roker here? Maybe they did. No, that one. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Oh, you know what? It might have been.
Is it from a few years ago?
Yeah, it was. But someone just quoted from like this Thanksgiving. Someone just quote on Twitter, "Goku's a hugely popular guy."
Okay.
So I just assumed that was from this year, but maybe it wasn't. It's just, but I think Goku, the balloon has showed up multiple times, and I think Al Roker has been the person every time to talk about it.
That's so funny that there's these just old ass figures on TV who are like not on the up and up with modern culture, but they're just like the people. So like they're there and they got to do it. And
they got to read words they've never read before in their entire lives.
Yeah.
It's like, they Snoopy. I get it. I know Snoopy. I understand this.
Yeah.
Luffy, One Piece. I'm Meredith Vieira, and this is Luffy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if she's part of that anymore. I just pull the name.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
I am going to call it Macy Gray's Thanksgiving Day Parade from here on out, though.
Yeah. I mean, I still think about that every time because Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Macy's Thanksgiving
Gray
Parade.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. We got a show. We're back once again with the show. It's called ThereWillBeDuds, and this is episode 127, and I'm your co-host, TJ, and with me as always, I am Nick. And as always, we watched a movie. That movie being The Killing from 1956, directed by Stanley Kubrick, I think is how you say this lad's name.
Yeah.
Stanley Goku.
He really went Super Saiyan with this one.
Yeah. It is a film noir about a heist, attempted heist. Well, I mean, successful heist, not just attempted, I guess, by a group of guys from different backgrounds, I guess. It's a pretty basic movie. There's a heist.
Yes.
There's kind of a couple two-timing romantic relationship peoples. And then the heist happens. Some things go wrong. Some things go right. Backstabbing, betrayals, that kind of stuff. It's very classic, boilerplate kind of noir thing.
Yeah.
It can't really add much to it. It's I put it in. I did the same thing with when we did The Brood with David Cronenberg, where I was like, oh yeah, I included it because it's his first movie. And like this kind of is his first.
Yeah.
It's like the first like actual like full feature length. And I think I think the difference is like the ones before he did Fear and Desire and something else.
Killer's Kiss or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But those might have been like TV movies or something. Maybe that's why I differentiated.
They're both like 61 minutes long.
Yeah,
so
that
they're
too.
like they're kind of stretching the limits of like what could be considered a feature film.
They may have been student films too or something, because I read something either on the Wikipedia or IMDb for The Killing that this was his first like professional movie with like professional cast and crew and everything.
Right.
So maybe those are student films. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's a movie by Sterling Kubrick.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? It's different, I think, than what a lot of people are used to with Stanley Kubrick, because it's I consider Dr. Strangelove to kind of be the demarcation point. That's where he's like, that's like the midway. I mean, it's the last one of his more normal kind of movies. Because right after that you get 2001, and I think that Doctor Strangelove kind of fits right in. Like, it's got some of his later things, later elements, later trademarks, but it still has this earlier kind of more mainstream feel.
This feels very like studio system Hollywood.
Yes, especially the narration.
Which I learned. Here's the thing, Hollywood. Don't make your directors do this because they hate it.
Yeah.
They hate it so much. And like on the IMDb trivia, it says that like he hated doing it so much that I think he even made some of like what the narration said wrong.
Yeah, that's
on purpose because he hated it so much.
Yeah.
I guess this is a big inspiration for Tarantino doing the sort of like sequences out of order.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's even like a pull quote from Tarantino where he was like, Reservoir Dogs is like The Killing or something like that, or like it was because it's like a heist movie. You have these like 5 kind of unique dudes with different perspectives and different sort of like abilities and skills. I don't know.
I guess you can call it skills. Like Maurice, the guy who just rips his shirt off and just throws people around a bar. That's his technical skills.
I gotta ask, is there a certain other actor / wrestler that you thought of when you saw Maurice?
Tor Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought the exact same. I almost thought it was him. I was like, oh, is that the dude from like Ed Wood? Like that's his one thing. Put some contacts in him, and he's like,
yeah.
I think in terms of like Stanley Kubrick movies, it's pretty mid. I thought it was fine. I thought it was enjoyable.
Sure.
But it was like
kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
I think there were a few flourishes that I really liked. There were a few like really nice like long tracking shots that I think were like pretty impressive at the time. I was like, oh, these look nice. You're getting these little bits of like the Kubrick that we know now.
Yeah.
That like I think there's like the initial one where you're following Sterling Hayden as he's like walking
that's the
through.
exact one I was thinking of.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Love this. I like Sterling Hayden a lot. I think he's really fun in this role.
I do too. Yeah.
It's a shame he didn't really do much with Kubrick outside of this and Doctor Strangelove, because I think Jack Ripper is like an incredible character.
yeah. He's fucking awesome in that movie.
Yeah, so Barnes and Noble is doing their 50% off Criterion sale, and I went out and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I went out and bought it.
Oh,
so
nice.
I watched the Criterion Blu-ray, which that Killing Kiss of Killing, whatever shit is actually on Killer's Kiss is on the Blu-ray. I didn't watch it, but it's included, so I can at least like.
Nice.
I kind of got 2 for the price of 1. Yeah, because I'd like to collect all of his movies eventually.
Yeah. And I don't think they have much of his stuff on. Like, you can't get his later stuff on Criterion, right? Like, they don't have The Shining or Full Metal Jacket. They have Doctor Strangelove. I know that.
They have Paths of Glory. They have The Killing, and they have Barry Lyndon.
That's so weird. I wonder why those ones.
I've never understood why Criterion does that. Like, for Paul Thomas Anderson, the only one they have is Punch Drunk Love, which I love.
That's right.
That's the only one of his movies in the collection. David Fincher.
Some licensing things. I don't know.
Because David Fincher, it's like The Game.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. And I'm like, there's Fight Club, there's Seven, like there's The Social Network, there's all these great movies. I've never understood why they put like the sort of like more
a Zodiac Criterion collection.
That'd be so good. They could do so much with that. But anyway, aside from the narration was kind of killing it a little bit for me, where I was like,
it's some of the most
it even sounds silly, like the guy doing it sounds so like like not paternalistic, but just like sort of talking down to you, like you're a moron that needs things like explained.
Yeah.
But overall I had a decent time with it.
Sure. Yeah. I actually I saw that the thing with it influencing Reservoir Dogs and all that too, but not to say that, it couldn't have inspired more than one of his movies, but the one that I thought of the most with this was Jackie Brown, actually. It felt a lot like maybe just because of the heist, because of the structure and everything. Like the whole, most of Jackie Brown is the build up to the heist. Most of this is the build up to it. You have kind of like it's the like girl issues. I don't know how you want to put it, like with like Bridget Fonda's character in Jackie Brown and stuff. And there's some like, oh, let's, why don't you just, after the heist is after the heist is over, you take the money from those, you heist the guys who heisted this place, and then we'll run away with the money, kind of thing. And just kind of building the team element. And then the way that the heist is shown, and then you kind of, it's not quite as elaborate as Jackie Brown, but you kind of get it from a couple different people's perspective, and then they like replay some of the scenes over again. But only a couple. You follow like Maurice, the bodybuilder guy, and then you follow Johnny, the Sterling Hayden, is that his name? Johnny?
Yes.
And then the like, and then you cut away to like the sharpshooter guy in the car.
Was not expecting that.
I know.
What do you? Because I was like, okay, this is.
I was like, this is the 50s. Are they gonna do it? It? I'm not sure.
But I mean, I guess I don't want to say they had to, but they had to have some sort of hitch, because it was going a little too perfectly.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, no. Okay, this guy's like, oh, he was nice to me, and then it's like he's gonna keep coming to be chatty, and that's gonna be, he's gotta like, no, dude, I gotta shoot this horse, which like, what a terrible location to shoot a horse.
I know. Yeah.
Like, I guess everyone else was like out of their cars because they're at the race, but he's like in a convertible out in the open, like the most obvious shit in the world.
I wonder if that was the idea, is that he's just like, maybe he's good at what he does, but he's not necessarily like clean or like professional about it.
Yeah, and I think Johnny picked him because it's like, yeah, he'll do it, but I'm not gonna cut him in because he's kind of an idiot. So like, I'll let him, if he does it and he pulls it off, cool. But if he does it and like doesn't get away, I don't care.
Yeah,
like he's totally disposable. And I did really like that sort of setup and payoff where the parking lot attendant brings him the horseshoe.
Yeah, that was good.
And then like as he slumps over and dies, the horseshoe is like next to the tire. It's like, Yeah,
that was great. That was there was a couple like that was probably my favorite one. Like the sort of like setup payoff things that you got. Like that was nice because like I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't I thought the parking attendant guy was just there to pester him, like kind of be like almost like a little like comic relief type. Oh yeah, But then that you had that payoff was kind of like surprising and felt good. But almost like the opposite. Like I didn't know how to feel about like the ending. Like it felt so like dumb. But there is a little bit of the like the setup payoff thing with that is like when they're in the airport terminal, there's the lady who has the dog, and she's like being very like it'll like you'll focus on her for like a little bit, and she's like, oh, little baby, like baby talking and stuff, and then they're waiting for the plane, and then the dog runs out at the guy with like the luggage taxi, which knocks his briefcase off. Flies it everywhere, and it was like, oh, okay, so they did set that up, but like that didn't feel as like they just decided to focus on her. Like there was a reason why, there was more of a reason to have the parking attendant interacting with the guy, and then the horseshoe thing and everything. There was more of a reason. It's just, this is like just a random lady, and I don't know, and then just that shot of like all the money blowing away though, I was like, oh man.
That, like, there were two moments. Yeah. There were two moments where I like actually audibly gasped. That was one of them, and the other was when George shows up near the end and like the gunfight happens and he's the only one left alive.
Yeah.
Which because the whole time there wasn't really any violence whatsoever, and then you know, sort of in a Tarantino-y kind of way, you just have this huge standoff. Everybody shoots each other, and he's like the only one left alive, and he's just kind of like
Jules and
yeah,
Vincent
or
in
the
Pulp Fiction.
Phil Lamar character, because like when at the very beginning when they're doing the big Kahuna burger, and he's like, oh, does Marcellus Wallace look like a bitch, like all that kind of shit. They cut back to that later on in the movie, and Phil Lamar, his character, is like in the bathroom listening to that, and he runs out to shoot him.
No, that's
someone else.
Jerry Seinfeld looking guy.
That's right.
Phil Lamar's Marvin. He's the one that rides with him in the car.
Yeah, but I think Phil Lamar was there at the beginning, and that they kind of
there's Jerry Seinfeld, there's Frank Whaley, and then there's Phil Lamar. I think it's the three of them. Frank Whaley's the one in the car who's like, you know, say what again guy.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So Phil Lamar is the only one that makes it out, because no, it's like the Jerry Seinfeld guy comes out, like unloads at them, and then they like look around, they're not shot, and then they just pull up their guns and like on them.
Yeah. Similar to that, though, where like only in this case, I guess everybody gets shot.
Yeah.
But when George came out and did that, I was like, I was actually like very shocked by this sudden burst of violence.
Hey, where's the jerk? Where's George?
The jerk's home!
Of all of the other guys, I think he might have been my other favorite, other than Sterling Hayden.
I think me too.
Because he was just so eternally cucked. Just like
I wrote down George is a Sigma incel to the very end, because he's just like, he shows up like dying. I think, was he shot in the face? I think he was shot in the face in that.
It looked like he had like pock marks or like bullet holes like through his cheeks
right
or whatever.
Here, and then when he shows up later, it's like bleeding from that. So I think that's why, and he's like dazed and like stumbling around after that. I think that's because he's like basically half dead, which, you know, maybe same thing happens to Quentin Tarantino in Reservoir Dogs. So maybe that's from that.
Because like when Johnny shows up, he sees George stumble out of the thing and get into his car, and he's like, time to go. I'm not dealing with this.
I like that. Yeah, and the narrator's like, which this could have been some of the misdirection because it felt like dumb. It's like, if they made an agreement ahead of time that if anything seems afoul, whoever is currently in possession of the money takes that and goes, because that's more important than anybody's life. Or I'm like, I can't see anybody really agreeing to that, because then like the person with the money could just like set the other people up to kill each other, or just go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you know, could have been that, you know, Stanley Kubrick writing the bad narration on purpose. I don't know.
Yeah. I do think in that moment we might have seen the first Kubrick stare.
Oh, when he's just watching the money go?
Because like I was watching it and I was like, he is like an empty husk. He's like, because even when she's like, should we run? And he's just like, what's the difference?
I loved his acting there.
Johnny, you've got to run.
What's the difference?
He's just like so totally defeated. Like he got the ball to the 90-yard line and then just like through pure dumb happenstance shits the bed, and he's just like, who gives a shit now? I'm just giving up.
I think if it was me, and like it was that important to get the money, like they wanted to do it as a carry-on, I would have just been like, okay, we're just driving to Boston. I don't know.
Yeah, you have so much money, like who cares?
Yeah.
Also, just like I understand it's like he's in a rush, but like, would you not put the money, like organize it somewhat? Because even in that scene when he's like he dumps it out of the bag into the briefcase. He just dumps it out. And like when he shuts it, there's still dollar bills like on the ground.
Plenty. I
it's
figured
just
maybe he shoves those ones like in his pockets or something. The ones that are still out or something. But yeah, or like, well, there's that scene where he dumps the money in and then he like takes the keys to like lock the latches. But I was kind of confused because he sticks the key in, turns it, and then flips the latch and it opens. And I'm like, you would think that he would be locking it. I don't know. I was a little confused.
Think that's supposed to indicate that it's faulty. Because when it falls off the thing and it opens up and all the money goes flying out.
Okay.
I think that's supposed to be him being like I'm so pressed for time. I got to use this briefcase, even though it's kind of shitty and faulty. Whatever, screw it. Who cares? We'll do it live. And then that's like what bites him in the ass over it.
Okay, all right, I can buy that. That's kind of what I was a little confused on that.
I totally missed this guy, or maybe subconsciously he seemed familiar, but when the second robbery happens, when Sherry's guys go to rob them, her like Val, like the guy that she was seeing like two-time in George with, did you recognize the second guy that was with him?
I did because I looked him up, or I noticed his name in the credits or something, and I was like, yeah, I know that name.
Yeah, it's Joe Turkel, who I mostly know as the bartender in The Shining. Mm-hmm. But it's crazy seeing him that young.
Yeah, a lot of them. Well, I mean, I guess there's a couple like kind of familiar faces in this, as like little babies. But yeah, he's also he's the doctor from Blade Runner too. That's the other kind of.
That's right. Yes.
Thing he's known for, I think. And then also, Rodney Dangerfield. Did you see that this was like his first
he's uncredited in the crowd or something like that?
Yeah, it's actually when Sterling Hayden's like waiting by the like security door. There's like the bar fight going on, and he's waiting to like slip behind. Rodney Dangerfield's like in the crowd, like right there, and you can see him. You can make him out.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. That's crazy.
Yeah. And like he looks younger, but he still looks exactly like he does like in all those 80s movies too.
He's got one of those faces. Him and the guy from Peter Lorre just has that face kinda. That he's gonna have that face for his entire life, no matter how old he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't take a ton of notes while I was watching the movie, just because it's a noir, and I feel like we've seen better noirs at this point, where this one, it feels like kind of cookie cutter, like, and it is based on like a novel, like it's based on a book, so it's not like, well, I don't know, is The Third Man based on a book, or was that just I don't even know, or M? I think M might have been.
No,
either
that
way.
one was not. I do remember in something.
That's a Fritz Lang original.
Yeah.
Okay. It just, there are these other noirs that I feel like do more interesting things or do better things with like the narrative. Where this one, I mean, the gimmick with this one is that it's done sort of out of place, right?
Yeah.
And I think to its detriment.
To a degree.
It's like yeah, that would have been cool for the time, like non-linear storytelling, but then the studio got in the way and said you have to have this narration.
Yeah.
And it's like what would have been a cool thing kind of turns into like an annoyance, because every time there's a time change you have to listen to this guy talk to you like you're an idiot. Where it's like you could have easily just put like a date and a time, Like
if you have
3 p.m.,
Yeah.
5 p.m., 7 a.m. Like there are ways where you could have done it where like the audience would have understood. Oh, okay, we're earlier in the day. Mm-hmm. Or like, you know, even with like Jackie Brown, the way they show that scene where she's in the dressing room, like 3 different perspectives.
Yeah.
You know, they could have done something like that. And they kind of do a little bit when Maurice kind of starts the bar fight. Like you kind of see the beginning of that scene again, and then you know where it goes afterwards because you've already seen that before it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I more or less agree. It's I mean, I said it last week when I pulled it that it is like kind of one of those homework movies that it's like,
Yeah.
you like, it is kind of what it is. It's a film noir, but with the added thing of like, oh, you can Stanley Kubrick, and you can kind of look for some of those things, those directorial flares or what have you. But I mean, I would say it's like, it's a far cry from like a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah.
You know. But it's been a while since I think I've watched like, well, one of his movies. But really just like any sort of like a film bros director, like I'd say like Tarantino or Lynch kind of fit into that, or Fincher is who I meant, but Lynch too,
right.
I guess. And like reading like the top comment for like on the YouTube thing for the movie, because the movie's on YouTube just for free.
Okay, yeah.
Or like some of the IMDb trivia things, I'm like, who the fuck wrote this? But like it feels like you can hear the film bro coming through it. Like I just like it's comparing some of the elements, the story elements of this to Doctor Strangelove in 2001. And then it says, the foolproof caper in The Killing falls to shreds because of man's avarice and failures, leading to the combatants meeting the bloody bullet. And this is an IMDb trivia piece. Like, that's not for like doing your article, like your movie critique thing. It's just, you're just supposed to put like, you know, how many people died or something like that.
It's trivia. It's not editorializing.
Yeah.
Body count 9. 8 people and 1 horse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's decent, but I wouldn't go so far to like, I think it's a bit of a stretch to try to like extrapolate like Stanley Kubrick themes that he explores later on with like The Shining or Full Metal Jacket or Eyes Wide Shut or any of those kind of movies. Like I mean, the closest you could get is like The Folly of Man. Like, man is faulty and will, but it's like that's everything.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I don't think it's anything more than what it is. You know, I think it's just supposed to be a fun little exciting heist crime movie. Maybe a little more, maybe this stood out, like maybe this was a bit more brutal than other ones for the time.
I mean, that shootout scene with George, and it kind of like the camera kind of like moves through the room and you see all of the guys like dead on the ground. They're pretty bloody.
Yeah.
Which I feel like, especially in like the 50s, like that's probably like, ooh, can't really show too much violence like that. Like that's a little too far. Because I noticed that like when George shoots Sherry, she kind of does that like, oh, my stomach, oh, I'm dying instantly now. Gone. Right. And it's like you don't see blood or anything like that. She just kind of like, oh.
Yeah, that's more what you get in like, or like The Third Man, which is also like a noir movie from around the same time. I think that's what happens to Harry at the end Orson Welles. I think he gets shot, and you just see him like, kind of like slump over or whatever.
Yeah. Timothy Carey, who's the sharpshooter.
Yeah.
All I had to say about him is that he looks like Noel Fielding.
Oh, yeah.
Like even his like picture on IMDb, he kind of has what looks like black eyeliner under his eyes, almost like a Vince Noir type character.
Yeah, I did see his IMDb picture. I wonder if he was like if he did like, I don't know. That almost looks like vaudeville kind of style.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah. He's in Paths of Glory, apparently. I do want to watch that one, because I've heard that's like one of the great like anti-war movies, which Kubrick is kind of known for. He's got a few.
Yeah.
One
of the few I haven't seen.
One of the I watched some of the supplements on the Criterion, and there is an interview with Sterling Hayden. I think like a year before he died. Like it's in the 80s. And he looks, I think he was like 69, almost 70 years old at this point in time. Okay. And like he had kind of like an Abe Lincoln like beard, like it was popping off of his chin, but he didn't have a mustache. But it's like it's him in like California at his house, like talking. I think it's like for some French newspaper or French news company or whatever. But he is an interesting guy. I don't know how much you looked into him. But he like would often talk about how much he didn't like acting, and how he kind of reminded me of Harrison Ford, where like his real passion was fishing, and he acted so he could buy schooners to go fishing more.
That's awesome.
And he's talking about how he is like having trouble with lines, and he has to like take shots of whiskey to get comfortable to like get in the moment and like memorize his lines. Like he has this really like kind of touching story about him like working with Stanley, and I guess it was one of the scenes from Dr. Strangelove where it's probably the big monologue where he's like on the phone, that kind of lean back shot, and he's like talking about like his essential like what is his essential fluids or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
But apparently he's like, yeah, he kind of has this Hunter S. Thompson cadence when he's talking, where he'll just be like, he's like, yeah, I did that. Huh? Yeah, huh? Like that kind of like, he has these like little tics. But he was like, he's like, and then, we got into the double digits for takes. And I'm like, oh, Stanley, this isn't good, huh? And like, and I guess Stanley was like, he's like, look, you can't help it, whatever is causing this. And I certainly can't help it. But he was like, the fact that you're like sweating and look crazed, like sweating because he's like nervous and messing up his lines. He's like, that is exactly what we want. So like when he's like looking like he's like sweating and very nervous, it's actually because Sterling Hayden was having trouble with his lines. And Kubrick was like, use that. That's like perfect. And then he said he got a couple whiskeys in him and like came back and nailed it.
Nice.
But I guess he was like part of the Young Communist Party too. Like, but then I do think he sort of like named names when push came to shove, which he says is like one of the biggest regrets of his life was doing that. He's like, the FBI already knew their names. Why do they need me to say it? Like just to make me look and feel bad. And then apparently after that, like, because Ronald Reagan, I guess, was like a big like communism buster in Hollywood. Like he would go on. Yeah. He's but there's this one really great bit where he's like talking to the cameraman. He's like, and then Ronald Reagan said, like, I'm 100% American, which, yeesh, coming from that guy. It's just like, hell yeah. He's a Reagan hater, just like talking shit.
That's awesome.
But it really like ingratiated me to Sterling Hayden, though. Just him like on his porch overlooking like California, smoking cigarettes and talking shit about Reagan and talking about how bad of an actor he is and like all this. That's I don't know. Awesome. It was very Like I was very enamored by him.
Yeah, I'll have to check.
I'm sure
that
you can
out or
find him on
something.
YouTube, or you can find him around.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I've only really seen him in those. I guess he's in
Yeah.
The Godfather.
He's like a cop.
Yeah, it's just
McCluskey.
Captain McCluskey. I mean, I've only seen the movie once, so.
Yeah. Well, during those supplemental materials, he was talking about like doing a lot of like kind of, I think he called them like 10-day westerns, kind of like those really quick. Let's go out in the desert with horses and shoot a very thin plot. Like,
Oh my god.
what?
No, I just realized who he is. Like, it's a shot that I know like by heart, like even before I saw The Godfather, and I just realized that's him. Like I don't even have to check. I know what it is. That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess he was in a bunch of. He was like, yeah, I did a bunch of like shitty westerns to basically pay for boats.
Yeah.
And he's like, so yeah, he's only got a handful of like, I guess those like top tier, if you will, movies, and I think the rest of it, a lot of it is just like, yeah, you pay me a job so I can go get a schooner and go
Right.
fish some more.
Yeah. This is like Hollywood of yesteryear is just nothing like what it is nowadays. for many.
That's like what I appreciate about him is just like he's sort of actively hostile towards the profession that he's like good at. Like you don't really see that type, especially with like newer actors. Like, I hate this.
Yeah.
But you guys keep telling me that I'm good.
Yeah. And just that there's he's not the only actor from that time that I've heard stories like that about, where they're just like, it's almost like a side gig for them, but they're like, not that he's like a Hollywood legend, but he's in some pretty legendary movies. And yeah, just like you said, like that kind of like disdain they have for the culture and stuff, and just they feel much more like just like regular people, and not kind of like how celebrities are kind of treated today.
Yeah, and I mean, it is later in life that like video interview with him.
Right, yeah.
But like he does not strike me as someone who is particularly like media trained. And like I go to do this interview, you ask me these questions, I kind of have these canned anecdotes and stories prepared. He's just like, oh, you want to talk about Reagan? Dude was an asshole. Like that.
Yeah.
He's just very off the cuff, very like sort of blunt to the point where like, well, what are you gonna do? Not put me in movies anymore? Great.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the difference, is because now it's like everybody's coached into like how to do interviews and how to present yourself, and everything is catered. Social media. There's a presentation to like everything.
Oh, yeah.
that you do now. But back then, people just kind of felt like they were just being themselves.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I sound like somebody who's like, now we're too PC and blah, blah, and Hollywood's too woke and whatever. But it's not that. It's like, it's just, people could just, it just felt more genuine, I guess. And
yeah. I mean, hell, the one actress from the Scream movies, the new Scream movies, she got canned for like posting about like Palestine on her Instagram bio.
Yeah.
Or like she posted like an Instagram story and like she got fired from the movie series. So it's just like,
yeah,
you cannot step a toe out of line.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Jenna Ortega like backed out too.
Yeah.
Like, apparently like in support of her or whatever, which is cool. That's cool.
Actually, Tom Cruise was a certified homeboy too, because I think there was another lady who like spoke out in support of like Palestine and was gonna get fired, and then Tom Cruise, I guess, stepped in and like was like, no, like if you do this, I'm dropping. It was basically like a show of solidarity from Tom Cruise to like
That's cool.
help her keep her job.
It's other than the Scientology and like some of that weird stuff. Like Tom Cruise he's a very like pro worker like actor, and like he's definitely like a celebrity for sure. Like he is not connected to the common man anymore, but he does seem to be very pro worker. And
have you heard any of his like on set like freakouts? I don't know if freakouts is the right word.
I've heard,
but it's like it's over safety.
Yes, I have.
It's over like doing things safely, and he's yelling at them, but it's like it's because he wants to.
We have to like set a standard for
I think it might have been like over COVID restrictions where he was like we all want to work. If you're not going to take this seriously, get off the set, because if you get sick and then we get sick and then we have to stop, and it's like this whole thing. But it's like, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
Like he's very passionate about it, but he's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you can kind of respect that he has a respect for the business or for movies, as opposed to like usually when you hear like an actor having an on-set freak out, it's just kind of like an ego trip or something like that. yeah. Now I have to get back into character and everything and boo. Yeah. 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 So somehow we're talking about Tom Cruise now.
Yeah, we kind of got away from it a little bit.
I mean, we at least we prefaced this tangent with there's not much to say about this movie, so but I guess do we want to bring it home and do scores?
Sure, yeah. I've got a few other highlights that I kind of wanted to highlight, but I'll do that in the review.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh shit. I think I landed at a 6. Thought it was pretty good. If not a little kind of, by the numbers noir. I'm just spoiled because I've seen a lot of great noirs before this on the show. So I'm just like, my standards are a little bit higher now, I guess. But it is a Stanley Kubrick movie, and there are some cool things that Stanley Kubrick likes to do that it was kind of cool to see his early technique forming. You had some really nice tracking shots. It's some pretty decent cinematography. The Criterion transfer, again, that I feel like they always knock it out of the park, especially with movies from the 40s and the 50s. It looked very nice. Yeah, there were a few cool moments. I liked the burst of violence with George. I liked the George character quite a bit. His arc, just seeing him. That's what I was thinking of. I was trying to think of like if we wanted to do like a dream casting or like who would be in the remake.
Oh, yeah.
I think for Sterling Hayden, I think Josh Brolin would be a good stand-in, because I think they sort of have that same like big ass head with the furrowed brow and like. But for the George character, I could see him so easily played by William H. Macy. Oh yeah, like his character is largely
is like 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. This like age-wise, yeah.
But it's like I'm thinking of like Fargo and Boogie Nights, where they're just kind of these guys who just get shit on and stepped on all the time, just like.
And then I had one for the sharpshooter, John Turturro.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I even thought about that when they're like on the shooting range and you kind of see his profile. He kind of has his hair sticking up. I was like, he kind of looks like John Turturro. That's perfect. Yeah.
And then Van, the guy that Sherry was like cheating on him with. Mark Ruffalo is who I had for that one.
Oh, that'd be so good.
That Mark would be Ruffalo really good. Like kind of sleazy guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the George character. I like Sterling Hayden a lot. The sequence where he's like putting the clown mask on is actually I really like that sequence where he's like pulling the gun out, and then he's like going to set up to rob them. It was very, very smooth, like the way that they kind of shot that. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a by the numbers noir that had a few cool flourishes, and you can't shit on it too much because it's like 84 minutes, so it's pretty brisk. It's just it's decent. It's okay.
Yeah.
6.
I also went with a 6 for this one, for pretty much all the same reasons. I don't have much else to say. I almost went with a 5, but I think I did kind of bump it up more so than just like, oh, it's a Stanley Kubrick movie, than just like I just kind of like this vibe. I like old school noir where you have like dudes unironically talking like, hey, what's with the dame, see, like that kind of talk. It's pretty fun. Yeah, and I guess I did really like the third act. I think helped kind of solidify it as more of a 6 too, because I did think that like the heist and onwards was all pretty solid. Like the heist itself, all that happened in that, and then the shootout afterwards, and the very ending, as much as I did think like how the money was lost was kind of random and dumb, I did like the ending, and Sterling Hayden's acting at the ending was really great too. So yeah, 6 for me too, dog.
Nice. Yeah, speaking of that sort of like, this dame over here, I thought the Sherry character was very funny in doing those like kind of 1950s like witticisms, like every line of dialogue she has with George is kind of like, it's kind of like this sarcastic dance where everything that he says to her, she finds a way to like turn it around on its head to like make fun of him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I liked her character a lot too. For that reason, like I thought their dialogue was pretty funny. Like, he's talking about the money. I have the quotes pulled up. She's like, I'm going to have it, Sherry. Hundreds of thousands, maybe 500,000. She says, of course you are, darling. Did you put the right address on the envelope when you sent it to the North Pole?
That's right, yeah.
Just totally emasculating him, but it's got that very, like, kind of bouncy back and forth 1950, almost like comedy. I mean, it is comedic, but,
yeah,
that dialogue pacing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah. Yeah.
Not to shoot a dead horse.
And she keeps him like cucked and emasculated to the very end, because like when he shoots her, she's like it's not fair, and you're like, it's not fair because like she got shot and she's dying, but then she continues to say like, it's not fair, I never had a real man, I only had you, or something like that. Like,
even in her last moments,
man, she fucking hates him. Yeah, it's just a bad joke without a punchline.
That's what she says. Yeah.
Like, goddamn.
So ice cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at time of recording, we are a week into December?
No, it's still November.
At the time of recording, yes.
Episode. When the episode
by the time this
out.
episode is out, we'll be in December.
Yes.
That's scratch that, reverse it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are definitely in like Christmas movie mode right now, which is fine. I like Christmas movies for the most part. There's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
But they're Muppet Christmas Carol, that's become like that's a tradition we watch every year now. But for the longest time, I've been trying to get Chloe to watch Catch Me If You Can. I keep seeing.
She'd never seen it.
No. I've been seeing. I'll get like movie clips on TikTok all the time, and I've seen a few from Catch Me If You Can, like the scene where he's impersonating the substitute teacher, like he gets hit in the hallway, and then he comes back in, and then he like writes his name, and the bully guy's just like, oh no, like like realizing. But I kept getting clips of it, and I was like, I really want to show you Catch Me If You Can. I've been trying to get her to watch this movie for a long time. And like the more I want her to watch a movie, the more like resistant she is a lot of the times. Just like, I don't want to watch.
I know that feeling.
And I'm like, no, if you watched it, you'd like it. Like, come on. And so I was like, she's like, it's not a Christmas movie. And I was like, I think it kind of is. It might be. I kept like jokingly saying it's. And then the movie starts out like Christmas Eve. And I was like, oh. And then like Frank calls Hanratty every Christmas. And then like the scene when he gets like arrested outside of his mom's house is like Christmas Eve or something. I was like, and she's like, I cannot believe that you got me to watch this. And it actually kind of technically is a Christmas movie. So it was really, I felt very vindicated watching that. But yeah, I forget how much I love that movie. It's so great. It's like classic, really like Spielberg and John Williams pairing, like Leo, Christopher Walken,
Tom Hanks, like
yeah. Chloe didn't like his Boston accent. Because there's a few lines of dialogue where he's like, "Let me get in the car." Like it's a little like overpronounced a few times, but it never. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, to me, Tom Hanks can do no wrong. People were like ripping apart his performance in Elvis because he plays the Colonel. Elvis is like producer. And he has this weird fucking accent. And when you listen to clips of like the actual guy, he just has a normal voice. He just kind of talked like an older guy at the time, and he just some weird decision. I'm like, look, that is by far like not the worst thing about that movie. And it's kind of funny how weird it is. So it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, well, speaking of Tom Hanks, we also watched Sleepless in Seattle like the night before. Which I had never seen, and that was also that was good. It was all right.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh, it's
I know of it and stuff. That's Meg
it's
Ryan
crazy.
too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
which is like the second time.
Mail,
yeah, Well, they're both from Nora Ephron too, so it's like Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are both in these Nora Ephron stories. She directed Sleepless in Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah, Chloe has like a hat that says like directed by Nora Ephron on it or whatever.
Okay.
Did you know that she was like married, or I don't know if she was married to, but she knew the identity of Deep Throat, like the actual real life Deep Throat? And like
That's
after
weird.
they got divorced or something like that, she just revealed who he was.
Oh. Dang.
Yeah.
Huh. That's bizarre.
Nora Ephron identified Mark Felt.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I do know that name then, so
Yeah. Just weird Hollywood connections.
Yeah. I think there was a movie about him.
I mean, there was a movie.
Yeah, with Liam Neeson playing him. So I wonder if they have her in that.
Oh, yeah. Well, do you know what the movie's called?
It's called Mark Felt.
Oh.
The man who brought down the White House. It's from 2017. It's pretty recent. It's got a decent amount of like people in it. Oh, weird. It's got Dakar from Timeline in it. Randomly.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think Nora Ephron died not too long ago. 2012, so I guess a while ago.
A little bit, yeah.
But yeah, she kind of was all over those like romantic comedies. Like she wrote When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle.
She wrote that one. Okay.
You've Got Mail.
Yeah, I mean those alone, those are pretty legendary
Yeah.
rom-coms.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good transition to Christmas movies though. Sleepless in Seattle is kind of like a autumnal feel. It takes place in like Seattle for the most part, and like Chicago. It kind of jumps around. But yeah, a couple of good Tom Hanks movies to segue into the season.
Have you seen You've Got Mail?
Yes.
Okay. So that one's good too.
That's a good like autumnal New York City, like walking in Central Park with like the leaves changing. That's like a good autumnal movie.
Good cozy movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I watched a movie called Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. Is a Japanese movie from a few years ago. I was just looking for something to watch, and it was super short. It was how long is it? 71 minutes.
Okay.
Like, okay, this is kind of on my radar. Since it's so short, I'll pop it in. I was like, I started watching a show on Amazon, and I was like, I could watch another episode of that, or I could watch a whole movie, because they'd be about the same length. And it was honest, like it's gotten like pretty, people like really like it. People really dig the sort of gimmick or whatever. But I just wasn't feeling it, because like the whole deal is that it's this guy who works at like a coffee shop or something, and his apartment that he lives in is he's like the manager owner of it, and then his apartment is directly above it.
Okay.
And he has a TV monitor in his bedroom, and then down in the coffee shop linked, so basically just so he can kind of have a camera on at all times, just to make sure it's nobody's breaking, whatever,
right
stuff. And when he like goes up there, that he sees like himself on the screen, and he's like, him on the screen is like, "Hi, I'm you from 2 minutes in the future." And then they have like a little conversation, and then he like goes downstairs, and then you see him do that scene 2 minutes later.
Oh, yeah.
It starts out really kind of promising, and the whole thing is done in quote unquote one take. It's one take, but with the most obvious hidden cuts I've ever seen, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Which kind of hurts it too. But then like the problem is that like it just keeps doing that. Like it kind of introduces a conflict in like the last like 15-20 minutes, but then it's just done with. And it was kind of just disappointing, because I'd seen a lot of people compare it to a movie that I love called One Cut of the Dead, which is another kind of one take Japanese indie movie that's great. And that one take is actually a one take, and it's really impressive and cool how they do it. But in this, there's like a part where they do it where like they take the TV upstairs, downstairs, and face them each other, so you got like the infinite window thing. So they like, oh, if we do this, then we can see farther into the future. But then they just, they skip ahead. Instead of 2 minutes, you skip ahead like 8 minutes. And then, I don't know. Was like okay to watch. Like I wasn't, it was another kind of like cozy, like, it was kind of nice that it was just like these warm colors, very kind of slow, just people just walking around, just talking and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was still kind of like one of those nice little easy watches, despite not really being won over by it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I really watched, other than The Killing for this week. And
I'm just picturing like the Robert Blake character from like Lost Highway, where he's like, "I'm talking to you right now." He's like, "I'm at your home right now."
Yeah.
And he's like talking to himself through the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, some movies. No, I figured. I guess I thought I'd bring it up because like we only ever talk about stuff that we really like in the post chat, and I was like, I'm gonna talk about something I didn't think was that great.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't. They don't. I mean, and there's like room for all that stuff. Like, not everything is gonna be like the most incredible, like best thing you've ever seen.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like
most of the time it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of presumably not the best thing we've ever seen, we've got a movie next week that is a recommendation. One of our friends is gonna hop on the show. Trevor is his name. He recommended a movie for next week. We're gonna, I guess, jump into our Christmas movies a little early, because he decided to go with a movie from 2013 directed by Tyler Perry, A Madea Christmas. So there's that. It's on Sling, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Google Play, Apple TV for rent on all those, and Vudu. So watch it at one of those if you don't want to be spoiled for a Madea Christmas.
There's so goddamn many of these movies.
I know, it's crazy. I actually double checked to make sure. I was like, there might be more than one Madea Christmas. I don't know, but I think it's just the one. Because he has like multiple like Madea Halloween movies and shit like that. Yeah, these episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Twitch and YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in video form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And we also do post-episode streams over on YouTube and Twitch. We watch a movie, play some games, hop in, join in, hang out if you like. And with all that said, I'm a bad joke with no punchline.
Nice.
TJ,
I feel like I had. Yeah, as always. Hey, can I get some service, you stupid looking Irish pig? And I am Nick, and that's my pull quote.
Oh joy! I'm looking at the cast for A Madea Christmas, and both Antoine Dodson, the hide your kids, hide your wives guy, and the sweet brown, the ain't nobody got time for that girl. They're both in this movie, so we got that looked forward to.
The most 2013 movie of all time. Because that's exactly when those people are relevant.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, great.
Hell yeah. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.